Okay, guys, so this is very impromptu. It is currently the 21st of September, but the Cricos numbers are out, and you guys know how much I love data. So I could not help going into these numbers. It's very, very interesting. Obviously, looking at some of the providers, I think that the limits are spot on. With other ones, incredibly confusing. So I wanted to just go and just talk a little bit about it. So we're looking at 195 providers who have been listed with under 10 places as their 2025 new overseas student commencements, 135 providers that are at 10 to 30. So this is about 330 providers in total, and obviously under 30 basically means you're going to be stuck to one class. It's going to be very interesting to see how these providers work, whether they look at starting to pool numbers, whether or not we are going to see Cricos RTOs selling off, whether or not we're going to see people, we're definitely going to see people trying to push their limits as to, getting as many students to commence right before that 1/1/25 cutoff as possible. We've got 237 providers at the top of the list, which have like anywhere from 100 to about 1,400. I think the max was 1,356, which was sitting with Queensland TAFE, which would make, kind of make sense based on the numbers that they had done in the past. And then we've got 220 providers with 30 to 100 students. And I think this is definitely going to be the area for a lot of colleges where it's really going to you're really going to have to hope that there was like a diversity so that they were, training across a combination. And I know some colleges that, where it's a small part of their business, so they put, a couple of classes through, they maybe filter them in with other students and things like that. But I think that 30 to 100 number is going to be very interesting to see if there's any innovation coming out of that particular area from that group of RTOs. Obviously, the ones that got under 30, I think we are going to see just a lot of them not being able to facilitate those spaces. However, there's a magic number of 30 that I found incredibly interesting. So 167 providers, and you guys can go and you can actually like access. I'm pretty sure that there's I got it emailed to me by about 4 different people, but I know that it's spotted all over the place. So there is a very full transparent list. 167 providers got 30 places, exactly 30 on the dot. And I kept seeing this number because I was seeing it was not consistent and not to like a formula of kind of an average of numbers of the past or anything like that. So these 167 providers with 30 spots each, that obviously represents around about 5,000 spots that will be commencing next year. However, when we start to break that down, over the last 4 years combined, those 167 providers did 2,551 places in total over 4 years. So I'm very interested to know from the government, what is their rationale for this? What was the risk rating that kind of went in behind all of this? Because again, of those 167 providers, 133 of those 167 providers have provided zero training. They've provided zero new overseas commencements in the last 4 years. And most of them have actually been operating during that period. So this is not a new provider being given an opportunity to like build their numbers. We're talking about providers that have not, they've been Cricos registered. They have not provided Cricos training to a single student. And yet they've for some reason been given 30 places. So I just find this very interesting. I would be really, if you know the reason why we've given 5,000 places to 167 providers that have provided nowhere near that number of places, like it's, as I said, 133 providers that have provided zero training to Cricos, to the Cricos sector over the last 4 years, and yet they've been given places for next year. I would love to know the rationale for that. If somebody in the government, I'm going to tag Jason Clare in this message. Jason, if you can please explain to me why, when our places are so limited across providers, we're giving providers 7 And yet we've given providers that have done nothing. So we've got providers that have delivered to like 80, 90 students a year, and they've been given 7 places. And we've got other providers that have delivered no training to PRICOS students, and they've been given 30 places. I am sure that there is some sort of rationale for that. I'm sure the government has a very strong and solid case, and there's a risk rating that sits behind it or something like that. But it would be really, really good to understand the rationale, because when I do go to the national, the NPL and vet sector distribution methodology fact sheet, I could not see in there why, and I know that there was a thing about like recent market entrants and things like that, but I could not see the methodology as to why so many providers with 0 delivery over the last 4 years would get given more places than providers that were actually delivering to the market. Now, I am making an assumption here that it has something to do with risk rating. It is something to do with audit activities that are happening in the background. Couldn't see a huge correlation with that and, conditions that have been put into registration or anything along those lines. But if anybody out there in LinkedIn land has got more information, please DM me. Please comment below publicly, because I find the numbers very, very interesting. Very keen to hear what everybody else has to say about this. We shall see what happens over the next couple of weeks and months. Have a good one, guys. This is Lauren Hollis for NOI Education Services.